Hey there, folks. Welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture, and it's Billboard Breakdown. I'm going to pose a question that's been on my mind ever since we started getting stream trolling album bombs in the Hot 100, and this week one became glaring with KOD by J. Cole breaking on the Hot 100. Is anybody thinking about the long-term impacts of any of this? I mean, sure, it's partially indictment on streaming platforms to take label payola to dump entire records on their playlist, and even more scathing indictment on the public, you guys, who won't bother to build your own damn playlist or find new things on your own time. But really, who does this benefit long-term besides the record label? Do you even remember anything from Logic's middling album bomb a couple months back? Or would you remember a single that had been properly promoted and managed, where precision growth can lead to even greater success and actually being remembered long-term? We'll get to more of this in our top 10, but if you want the most prescient example of how the whole album bomb concept might hurt a record's public lifespan long-term, hey, look at Drake and look at More Life last year and compare all that to his current singles rollout in 2018, where he's arguably doing a lot better. And hell, I'd argue there's something to that. Look at Nice for What at number 1 for yet another week. It's certainly a weaker number 1 than God's Plan as it slips on sales and it's still gaining on the radio and there's still more competition, but its streaming remains as strong as it is because the attention is concentrated on it. If it had been released along with the rest of Scorpion, odds are it would not have done as well. Hell, you can make a similar argument for the success of God's Plan, still at number 2 with its release of the Scary Hours EP. All that attention is concentrated. Sure, I'm still a little bit bewildered how long it's lasted on YouTube and it's still climbing on radio despite not being a very good song, but at least the streaming and sales are finally starting to fall back, and even still, it's got staying power. But if you want the biggest argument for dropping a strong lead-off single on its own, it's at number 3, No Tears Left to Cry by Ariana Grande. Her big single for her 4th record that I will be discussing much later on the show, she hit traction across the board and ended up beating every single song that J. Cole dropped this week, and will probably have more staying power than J. Cole long-term too. Of course, that leaves Meant to Be by BB Rexa and Florida Georgia Line in a rough position. Airplay hit a hard peak, and even despite some strong sales, it'll never have the streaming position to have greater longevity there. I put money on it being overtaken by Psycho by Post Malone featuring Ty Dolla $ign. Currently at number 5 and generally kind of unsteady, but likely to get a boost with Beer Bongs and Bentleys coming out next week. Joy. But now we've reached the J. Cole songs, and the only reason he broke the record for the most songs to debut in the top 10, streaming and YouTube. And because of that, ATM hit number 6, Kevin's Heart hit number 8, and KOD hit number 10. With The Middle by Zedd, Maren Morrison Gray flailing in everything but Airplay at number 7, and Look Alive by Blockboy JB featuring Drake at number 9, mostly holding on to streaming and a sizable Airplay presence. Now granted, the real impact of the album bomb, it always hits lower down the charts. You know this. So let's take a look at our losers and our dropouts, and yeah, it was a bloodbath. But in the latter category, I can't really say I'm complaining about most of these going away. Yeah, Marry Me by Thomas Rhett and 5 More Minutes by Scotty McCreery, both them leaving as a letdown for me. But the former got the points it needed to make the year-end list, and if it could take out Lights Down Low by Max and Nash, I Fall Apart by Post Malone, Him and I by Halsey and G-Eazy, Bad at Love by Halsey, and Billy by 6ix9ine, taking those out with it, I can't really complain. But where the real carnage came was with our losers, with Cardi B absorbing the brunt of it. Finesse with Bruno Mars down to 25, Drip with Migos to 51, Barche Cardi with 21 Savage down to 60, I Do with SZA to 70, Ring with Kalani to 71, Best Life with Chance the Rapper to 100, and Through Your Phone to 99. But hip-hop as a whole took the majority of the hits, with perhaps the most cathartic one for J. Cole being a skid by Lil Pump falling off the debut to 37. But even beyond that, Stir Fry by Migos fell 39, Ric Flair Drip by Offset and Metro Boomin to 43, All the Stars by Kendrick Lamar and SZA to 44, Let You Down by NF dropping to 49, Outside Today and Diamond Teeth Samurai by Youngboy Never Broke Again to 69 and 89 respectively. These will probably rebound next week, just warning you. And Changes by XXXTentacion falling to 83. But a particular notice is what happened to Nicki Minaj this week, with both Chun-Li falling to 48 and Barbie Tings dropping hard to 78. All that momentum is just gone, gone, and it's not a good sign at all when Post Malone drops next week. Then there's all the country that's dropping back more naturally. They don't have the same streaming presence, so they're a little bit more insulated from J. Cole here, but Most People Are Good by Luke Bryan still fell to 62. I Lived It by Blake Shelton slid down to 80. The Long Way by Brett Eldridge fell hard to 85. And Cry Pretty by Carrie Underwood lost off its debut to 96. And the last few losers, well, some are long running, just need to get one last shove to get off the charts, like Thunder by Imagine Dragons to 45, or Feel It Still by Portugal the Man to 50. But then we get the last few to see their momentum brutally cut short, like El Farsante by Ozuna and Romeo Santos to 87, or I Don't Give a Fuck by Dua Lipa hitting 73, or, sadly, Say Something by Justin Timberlake and Chris Stapleton down hard to 65. And the way it's going, I'm not sure it's got enough to make the year-end list, and for me, that's a damn shame. And with all those losers, there were no gains in the Hot 100. Seriously, none. Zero. But we did get 2 returning entries that didn't exactly raise my spirits. On the one hand, nobody wants to hear Halsey bring back Alone with Big Sean and Stefflon Don to 92, but on the other hand, I would not wish the circumstances that brought back Wake Me Up by Avicii to 34 on anybody, as Avicii passed away way too young at the age of 28, reminding me that this song just missed my year-end list in 2013, and yet it's a damn sight better than the majority of what we have in 2018, hands down. But unfortunately, we've got a long list of new arrivals ahead. It would have been a decently busy week even before J. Cole, and given that I already reviewed his damn album, I'm going to try to keep those entries brief. But before we get to those, number 98, Close by Ray Shrimmer and Travis Scott.
C-L-O-S-E to me, it's ruined. I mean, seriously, can I breathe?
You know, I would say I'm openly dreading the Shrem Life 3 album bomb for as massive as it probably could be, but with every new single these guys have released, the less I'm convinced that anything's really gonna happen. For some reason, Travis Scott is delivering his bars with the same lack of intensity that made Huncho Jack such a damn slog to get through. Sway Lee tries to refocus his verse on a girl that got way too close to him, so he had to dump her, which for some reason he spells out in a really clumsy way on the hook, and then Slim Jimmy tries to refocus it on people leeching off his success, and just nobody can stay on topic with this song at all. And honestly, I didn't really mind the chilly gurgle of the synthesizers playing off the blockier trap beat. I didn't precisely think the flows were all that bad, and the rhyming wasn't bad either. It's just that it's undercooked and kinda underwhelming, as per usual, so not really bad, but not really good either. Number 95, Everything's Gonna Be Alright by David Lee Murphy and Kenny Chesney.
Everything's gonna be alright. And nobody's gotta worry about nothing. Don't go hitting that panic button. It ain't worth spilling your drink.
Okay, some context here. The majority of you might not be familiar with David Lee Murphy, but he actually had a modest line of hits in the 90s. The one the majority of you probably recognize being Dust Off in the Bottle, which is a really good song. He also took a 14-year break in between recording in 2004 and now, recruiting Kenny Chesney for the backup, and wow, I'm not impressed at all by this comeback. And yes, it nearly entirely is rooted in the production. Blocky drum machines that don't flatter anything, especially in the back half of the song, backing vocals that feel higher and cleaner than the main vocal line, a really ugly flat tone coming from the lead guitar that doesn't modulate at all, and a spacey mix that doesn't really let any counter melody rise up to play off it. And when you factor in how Kenny Chesney and David Lee Murphy don't really have any interesting interplay or chemistry, or how the lyrics are just a monotonous reassurance of how everything is gonna be alright, just has no momentum or interesting tune to it at all. It's just kind of lethargic and listless. In other words, if it wasn't for Kenny Chesney's disturbing chart longevity in this part of his career, I would say to forget it, but unfortunately, don't think we can count it out yet. Joy. Number 81, Dame La Cosita by El Chombo.
Ay, dame tu cosita, dame tu cosita, ay, dame tu cosita, dame tu cosita, ay, dame tu cosita,
Muévete para aquí, muévete para allá.
You know, normally this would be the place where I would put together a meme review for this song, except it's a week where there's an album bomb, and I've got a limited amount of time to get this episode out on time as it is. And besides, this is a meme that blew up thanks to goddamn Musical.ly and seems closer to the Vine dance challenges than an actual meme proper. So is this anything worth deeper consideration or examination at all? Hell, with the cheap animation, the bargain barrel production, and the utterly repetitive hook, I'm inclined to say this is the 2018 equivalent to Crazy Frog, just in reggaeton this time around. And on that note, without any real melody outside of an insanely repetitive hook, I don't even see this sticking around a lot longer. It's just not all that interesting. But on the topic of forgettable reggaeton, number 74, Te Bote by Casper, Magico, Neo Garcia, Darell, Nicky Jam, Ozuna, and Bad Bunny. Hey, did you all want 6 underwhelming and forgettable reggaeton artists to go through an auto-tuned kiss-off anthem with bare-bones percussion and a desaturated piano melody where somehow they all sound like jackasses in new and excruciating ways? Well, yeah, this song's for you. And look, I get the power of a good post-breakup kiss-off song, but for as sullen and miserable as it sounds, thanks Ozuna, it makes all the flexing seem so much more overcompensating and pathetic and about the furthest thing from fun. So yeah, completely lousy song, it's crap, let's move on. Number 72, Babe by Sugarland featuring Taylor Swift.
You really blew this thing. We ain't getting through this one, babe. This is the last time I'll ever call you, babe. This is the last time. This is the last time. This is the last time I'll ever call you, babe.
So this is one of those songs that couldn't possibly live up to half the hype it's received by certain music journalists in the mainstream country scene. Look, it's Sugarland, back together! As if anybody wanted that when Jennifer Nettles' Playing with Fire was better than anything Sugarland ever released. But look, Taylor Swift is contributing to it! And if any of you think that's a good sign for Taylor, given how she left pop country in the first place, you might be in for a rude awakening with this. Especially as that all that she contributes to this song is backing vocals, especially given this was co-written by Pat Monahan of Train. Hell, even more than that, this was a leftover from the Red recording session 6 years ago. It's got the same overly clipped and chipper guitar and synth production that was characteristic of that era. It feels entirely too staccato and rigid. Hell, given how underweight the lyrics feel, just another post-breakup kiss-off, this time at least a little bit more able to handle its wistfulness a bit better, but it probably should have been left on the cutting room floor. It's a B-side, a deep cut at best, because both Taylor Swift and Jennifer Nettles are making more interesting music than this 6 years later, with better co-writers to boot. So yeah, not exactly precisely bad, but sure as hell's mediocre. Next, number 57, On the Way by Khalid, Ty Dolla $ign, and Black.
I'll be all day, put it in 5, I'll be outside, I'll be on the way. I'll be on the way, you can meet me in 5, I'll be on 9, I'll be all day. I'll be all day.
So I might be actually one of the few people who likes it when Khalid gets on production with a little more momentum and groove to it, and thus I felt predisposed to get on board with this, with the glassy grooves and the sharper bass beat of the song, especially with how well the more atmospheric sleekness was handled. So yeah, Khalid sounded great on his hook and his verse was pretty solid, but then Ty Dolla $ign gets onto this song and describes how his ex of this girl was always gassy. Seriously? I don't think it fits into your sleek driving hookup anthem to bring up the mental image of an ex-boyfriend with flatulence problems, I'm sorry. And when Black doesn't really impress me with his verse either, he's capable of better. A song that had some really potential just falls flat for me. I mean, it's decent, but you know what? Should have been better. Number 53, Intro by J. Cole.
Laughter, which says, I love this. Or crying, which says, this frightens me. I'm in pain.
So again, I've already reviewed this J. Cole record at length, and I'm not about to repeat myself, so for a brevity challenge for myself, I'm limiting how much I say about each song to maybe a sentence or two. In this case, it's easy. It's a horn-inflected intro with an extended sample describing how babies communicate, with the obvious pitch-shifted parallel referring to young MCs who don't know how to process pain effectively. I mean, it sets the scene, it sounds decent, but it's also just an intro snippet. It should not be on the Hot 100. Next, number 47, Once an Addict, Interlude by J. Cole.
Fish out of water, stepdaddy just had a daughter with another woman. Mama ain't recovered yet, calling me at 12 at night. She drunk as fuck and I'm upset, cause why she always using me for crutch? Growing up I always used to see her up, late as shit, cigarette smoking, greatest hits from Marvin Gaye. She kill a whole bottle with some cheap Chardonnay. I gotta leave this house cause pardon me.
Very minimalist liquid keys as J. Cole tries to say pain is a lack of understanding, and that since God understands understands all, God clearly knows no pain, and thus human suffering must please him? And then we get treated to an extended verse where J. Cole describes in heart-wrenching detail his mother's descent to alcoholism, but all in context to him and his pain. And through his warped misunderstanding of God and empathy, the struggle becomes his and his alone. It ignores how his mother actually recovered. It's very telling, despite how good storytelling, that little fine detail got left out. Number 46, Friends by J. Cole featuring Kill Edward.
Got me low, rest my mind, rest my soul. When I blow, am I wrong? Let me know. Feels so right to let things go. Don't think twice. This is me. This is how I should be.
So here's a pretty well-produced and gritty song where J. Cole tries to push aside excuses of addicts and seems to be completely brush aside the complex explanations behind depression, or systemic inequalities, or chemical dependence, or how therapy could be a very real solution to some of these ills, but he advises meditation, because it worked for him, all amidst bridges and a verse where he talks about how much he smokes pot. So, J. Cole, question. When you mention but blow right past real, albeit complicated solutions for what has been proven to work in favor of a solution that doesn't seem to even work entirely for you, where do your weak excuses and hypocrisy stop? Just curious there. Number 41, Window Pane Outro by J. Cole.
Get some money plus respect, and now look, I got all of that. All I wanna do is see my granny on the other side. All I wanna do is kill the man and make my mama cry. All I wanna do is touch a platinum plaque and celebrate. All I wanna do is keep my niggas out the yellow tape. All I wanna do is see my granny on the other side. All I wanna do is kill the man and make my mama cry.
You know, I'll actually give J. Cole some props for this shrill, stuttered production. I mean, it's derivative in its approach from Kendrick Lamar's Untitled 01, but it's effectively creepy vibe as J. Cole describes how so little has actively changed despite his message, and that means more unwanted kids could get hurt, and to quote him directly, that's what can most affect me. J. Cole, maybe amidst all your half measures and self-focused hypocrisy, you don't completely undercut your point by framing the entire song in the face of the coming apocalypse. If those sinners might well be saved in the end, why would they bother to change now? Just a thought there, man. Just thinking. Number 30, Brackets by J. Cole. A song that's pretty much only saved by the richer, soulful touches of horns and a Richard Pryor sample, and where J. Cole proceeds to completely misunderstand representative democracy because his tax bill is too high. And instead of actually engaging with the complicated questions of reform of the tax code and education, it becomes a petulant parable where J. Cole frames a circular connection between the gun lobby spending, murders in the streets, and the grieving mother having to file her taxes the next day, so the cycle continues. I mean, it's good storytelling, sure, I'll give J. Cole that. But again, a refusal to engage with actual complexity in these situations makes it hard to see his empathy for those caught in a broken system, and more about a lot of his focus of increasing his own bottom line. I'm just saying, not a juxtaposition you want to include in the same song. Number 28, The Cutoff by J. Cole featuring Kill Edward.
Put me down, gentle now, give me drink, give me dope. Bottom line, I can't go. If I die, I don't know. Give me drink, give me smoke, give me high, let me float. I'm a clown, coming down, put me down, gentle now. Give me drink, give me dope. Bottom line, I can't go. If I die, I don't know.
So, okay, Kill Edward is basically J. Cole pitch shifted to represent the confused incoherence of modern trap MCs against a desaturated piano and a lumpy beat here, all of whom he's looking to cut off given their inability to pull their lives together. And you know what? I get that he might be a tough reality that he's faced with people in his inner circle, even the very human desire to see some of them pay for it. Kinda negates it when you open up your verse saying that you're always the better man, though. And does he really think he gave so much to those younger MCs in the larger metaphor, or that they took anything from him? Again, just a thought there, doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Number 20, 1985, Intro to the Fall Off by J. Cole.
We wasn't supposed to get past 25. Jokes on you, motherfucker, we alive. All these niggas popping now is young. Everybody say the music that they make is dumb. I remember I was 18. Money, pussy parties, I was on the same thing.
Okay, not gonna lie, J. Cole going in at length on modern trap MCs and specifically Lil Pump for what will inevitably happen to their careers, it's pretty cathartic. Or at least it would be if he didn't constantly take a half step back in between every single line with punch. Come on, dude. For as much obvious contempt as you feel towards these guys, and I have had to cover them for years on the show, I totally get it. Your unwillingness to own any of that anger and truly castigate their lane, it doesn't make you seem level-headed or measured or balanced. It just stinks of condescension, especially when an artist like 21 Savage of all people is trying to improve financial literacy for artists in that lane. And down the line, you know what? I think 21 Savage is getting more points here, J. Cole, not you. Number 15, Motivate by J. Cole.
Motivate, 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 motivate,
Get money.
motivate,
Motivate.
motivate,
Motivate.
motivate,
Motivate.
motivate,
Mo.
motivate,
Motivate.
motivate,
Motivate.
motivate,
Motivate.
motivate.
Get money.
So yeah, Kendrick did it first in Untitled 07, but there is a part of me that feels like this entire minimalist trap might be an extended subversive shot at Kendrick, highlighting the similar yawning emptiness of wealth, and even referencing liking girls who are more natural, like on the controversy over Humble last year. The only real difference, well, Kendrick Lamar would actually have something to say in his introspection beyond just the subversion, and even if J. Cole was sketching how one would become the mask they wear through his usage of that Superman sample at the beginning of the song, J. Cole, you'd be wise to look in the mirror if that happens, because it could just as easily apply to you. Number 14, Photograph by J. Cole.
I hope to see you one day. I won't show my niggas now. I'll keep this one for myself. Love today's gone digital, and it's messing with my health.
Ugh, that little weedy guitar fragment does not sound good behind the trap snares. And that's before we get J. Cole's creepy brand of Instagram lurking that's shockingly lazy in its repetition of rhymes and bars. And look, I get that my generation is obsessed with social media, and to his credit, J. Cole actually calls out the awkward feeling of hesitation that comes with trying to craft the perfect message for somebody. He actually kind of gets into that mindset reasonably well. Just kind of a shame that so much of this song in particular doesn't seem to warrant that same attention. Hey, J. Cole. Number 10, KOD by J. Cole.
Gently from him, mama whip. KOD, he hard as shit. This is what you call a flip. 10 keys from a car to brick. Bentley from him, mama whip. KOD, he hard as shit. This is what you call a flip. 10 keys from a car to brick. Bentley from him, mama whip. KOD, he hard as shit.
Okay, no jokes this time. Easily the best song on KOD, primarily because it gets out of its own damn way, and one of the sharpest examples of J. Cole stepping into modern trap and showing some veneer of satire, especially on the second verse where he talks about actively getting sponsored by activists, which if it wasn't something that I think Future has actually referenced straight, it might cut a shade harder. Really, the only thing I can nitpick here is how some of the bars are naked repetition, and then the ending, where he talks about how the strongest drug beyond all the activists and the Percocets and the Xanax, it's love. And on that topic, number 8, Kevin's Heart by J.
I got the
Cole.
earth and the blunt. I get the skirt when I want. I get the skirt when I want. Due to the money aroma, my girl, she got a diploma. She got white written all over. She got white written all over.
Oh god, I really can't stand that grainy synth choice. And really, that would be it on this cheap equation of lust and drugs, except in the context of the album, where J. Cole seems to pull out all the excuses that he would later denigrate on Friends. And yet, this song is framed so that we're supposed to be sympathizing with him here. I thought meditation was the answer, J. Cole. Surely that would be enough to push past possibly cheating on your wife, or is the temptation just too immense and the same standards just don't apply to you? Right, J. Cole? Number 6, ATM by J. Cole.
Count it up, count it up, count it up, count it, count it up, count it up, count it up, count it. Count it up, count it up, count it up, count it, count it up, count it up, count it up, count it, count it up, count it up, count it up, count it.
And again, we get another slice of paper-thin satire amidst the whir of the cash machine and desaturated pianos, where J. Cole tries to comment on addiction to cash and how it can plug the hole within him in his heart, which might have some more weight if we hadn't already talked about a song on this show where he was ranting about his own tax bracket, especially when on this song seems to just be about cheap enablement for you to screw more of my girl. And J. Cole, he's supposed to be the nice guy of modern hip-hop. Such a nice guy, folks. Don't you see it? And finally, number 3, No Tears Left to Cry by Ariana Grande.
Ain't got no tears left to cry. So I'm picking it up, I'm living, I'm picking it up. I'm picking it up, I'm loving, I'm picking it up.
Okay, we're out of the woods with J. Cole here, and now we got the big new single for Ariana Grande, the lead off for her new album, and likely an answer surrounding where she took her sound after the scattered transitional sounds of Dangerous Woman, and honestly, I'm not quite sure how I feel about this song, especially in comparison with her other lead-off singles. There was a sense of weight and swell that was behind the huge hook of Dangerous Woman, and a lot of flair behind Problem, even despite the Iggy Azalea verse, and I'm not sure I'm hearing that with this song. There's that sharper synth line and percussion groove that's got a pretty solid late 80s bounce to it, and I don't mind the lyrics sounding transcending of tragedy. It fits for what Ariana Grande's gone through, and the melody beneath the hook is pretty solid in order to support her belting, but I keep thinking some of the synthesizers should really pick up a little bit more color and body and tone to blow through all the wispy tones around it. This song could have really put it over the top, and it would have been really something special, and yet, if I'm probably being honest, it's still really the best of the week, with KOD by J. Cole right behind it as an honorable mention. And while I am tempted to give J. Cole both the bottom spots here, he's only getting the dishonorable mention for Kevin's Heart. God, I can't stand that instrumental. And you know what? Because we get those 6 reggaeton artists, they're getting the worst for Bote. Such an insufferable song. You know what? Next week, all I would say is the fallout of this, but given how Post Malone is currently breaking Spotify records, we got him to deal with. Yay! But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown on Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.